So one thing I want to say before introducing our next presenter is I want to just quickly thank Glassdoor for this, most specifically, is streaming. Conferences and events like this, it's great when you can get here live. Not everybody can. And so I think when an organizer is willing to actually open things up and bring in a live stream audience and allow people all around the world to join at no cost, that's something that should be applauded. So thanks Glassdoor for doing that. And I'd like to introduce our next speaker. So Steve Degnan is the CHRO of Nestlé Purina. Nestlé Purina is recognized as the industry leader in pet foods and the recipient of multiple Best Places to Work awards. Steve has overall human resources responsibility at Nestlé Purina for over 7,000 employees across 22 locations in North America and Latin America. So please join me in welcoming Steve to the stage.
Hi everybody, this coming through? Can you hear me? Okay, wonderful. First of all, thank you to Glassdoor for having Nestlé Purina at the event. We're grateful for that. Any chance that we get to tell our story is a great opportunity for us. We are hiring, so any of you that would like to scan your phones while I'm talking, go to nestlepurinacareers.com and let me know what you think later. Okay, so if you've been paying close attention to the agenda prior to coming here, you'll realize that I was a last-minute substitution. I'm replacing my colleague, Nina Lee Kruger, who's actually the head of the North American business for Nestlé Purina. She got sick over the weekend, so you're stuck with me. I'm going to try to live up to what she would have done. I'm actually using her deck. They just put my name on it, so I'm as interested as you are in what I'm about to say, so we'll see what comes out. Just so you know, Nestlé Purina is headquartered in St. Louis. That's our building there. We are as bricks and mortar as it gets. We're very proud of the fact that we've appeared on Glassdoor's top 10 best employers list for the last 3 years. And my boss, Joe Sivright, landed on the top 10 CEOs of that list that was just published in June, I believe that Robert referred to. So I've actually got a couple of stories, and this presentation will just be a series of stories to share with you. So let's talk about Joe first, who is the number 9 best reviewed CEO on Glassdoor as published in June. Joe was not happy about that, believe it or not. Joe is a mix of humility and gregariousness, and when this happened, we, of course, being a large organization, we wanted to share the story, we wanted to do a press release, we wanted to celebrate it. And Joe called me in and he goes, "This is not about me, I will not do this." And as every news organization globally picked this story up, and we saw it on all of our Google alerts, he kind of got annoyed. But that's who the guy is, and I think his personality is reflected through our company. And the only statement he agreed to release on the whole thing was internal. He wrote a note to the organization and sent it out after a couple of days that just said, "This is not about me, it's about all of you." I think that sums up my boss as well as I can possibly do that. So he's not going to be granting interviews about this particular story. He kind of turned it right around. The other story I wanted to tell you was about the lady who really was supposed to be here today, Nina Lee Kruger, again, president of Purina North America. So Nina Lee turned around our cat litter business. We call it Golden Products. The name you know it by is Tidy Cats. I want to tell you a little story about how she did it. So she took it over about 4 years ago, before her current position, of course, and it was just okay. It was growing very incrementally, had the same market share for probably 10 or 15 years. Small incremental innovations here and there. She went in, discovered the morale was an issue, and what I would say is, prior to our awareness of Glassdoor, she basically used some Glassdoor tactics in order to get a feel for what was going on, and did a lot of listening and basically talked to almost every employee on her corporate staff and just asked them, if you could change one thing, what would it be? Through that process, they set some goals and set a major stretch goal. I'm not going to tell you what the business is doing, but she set a stretch goal to get it to $1 billion. We're well on our way. 2 big insights that came out from talking to the employees were, number 1, litter's too heavy. And number two, we always need to do things to improve the aroma, you might say, of what litter is used for. So two incredible products came out of that insight. One is lightweight litter. We created this product, and it is so lightweight, it's literally half the weight of normal cat litter and performs as well or better, that it can actually be shipped through e-commerce now, and it's been a tremendous hit for us. It's actually disrupted this very old category that nobody would ever think could possibly be turned into something exciting and innovative. And we've had double-digit market share growth and double-digit sales growth over the past 3 years. That's Nina Lee, and that's a very dynamic person who's currently running our North American business, and I'm sorry she couldn't be here today. So a couple of folks I work with, and the thrust of Nina Lee's presentation was to talk about trust. So I'm going to get into trust in 3 different ways. First of all, let's talk about trust from the leadership perspective. I'll give you a personal story. When I started with Purina 13 years ago, I came from another part of Nestlé, and got ready to meet with the boss for the first time. And I was used to working for people that really got into your stuff and really sort of wanted to tell you what to do. And I go upstairs, meet with the then CEO, Pat McGinnis. I get into all this detail, and he looks at me and he goes, I don't want to hear any of that. You do that. Benefits are yours. Labor relations take care of it, Steve. Let's talk about real stuff. If there's a huge problem, if there's an issue with the culture, that's when I want to talk to you. You go take care of that stuff. And what I learned from that is, if you do that, it cascades throughout the organization. You're really not only empowering, but in some ways setting your people free. And that, to this day, is a big part of our culture at Purina. Let people do their jobs. You hired them. They're the experts. Within reason, give them the tools and resources and let them go. In terms of trust across the organization, I'll tell you about one big project that we've got going on right now, and I'm going to give you the name of a book and the author, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It's called Team of Teams. Team of Teams. It was written by General Stanley McChrystal. It's about the surge in Iraq. It's not military history. It's not a defense of that war. It's just about one event and how they managed it. And it's about the special forces organizations in the military learning to disregard their hierarchical structure in order to meet a live, networked terror organization head on. And you can look up that book, you can look up the review and on your own and learn the story. What we're trying to do in partnership with the organization that the General has formed, it's a consultant outfit out of Washington, D.C. called the McChrystal Group. What we're trying to do is turn our organization into a live network in which every single employee, no matter what their level, can contribute, can share intelligence about what's going on externally, and help us deal with a lot of the disruption that's taking place in the marketplace. We're early into this right now, but very hopeful that this is going to increase the trust that our people have for each other more than ever. Trust among peers, equally as important. This is more about silos in our case. We are a big company. We're a $9 billion company with very big functions. And just like the story in that book outlines, we want to learn somewhat to disregard our hierarchy and disregard our silos and make it so that anyone can talk to anyone about any issue when there's a problem. And any organization struggles with this, especially a big 125-year-old company like ours. You're dragging around that heritage, good and bad. And we're trying to train ourselves to kind of jump over the silos and make sure we're talking no matter what the possible issue is. I'll get into transparency. I know Robert spoke about it at length. I've got a couple of stories on this one. This particular slide is a response from Nina Lee to what I believe was a marketing employee who had some issues about the culture inside of our marketing department. I call these reviews clinkers. We get a lot of good ones. We actually share the reviews on a management report that goes to the entire executive leadership team. We tease each other a little bit when a clinker comes in for someone's department. If you're familiar with Glassdoor and you've been reading the reviews, you know some disgruntled folks like to get on there and give their version of the truth, which we need to see. I view it as a gift. I view Glassdoor as providing a good public service. I think Glassdoor is disrupting traditional engagement surveys. I could see a day where I don't have to pay to have a big survey done, and I get the results 2 months later, because I can go to Glassdoor right now and read what the latest reviews are. It's instantaneous, it's there. But anyway, back to the clinkers. So this one's up here. Nina Lee responded personally. We encourage the executives when it's an important enough issue to respond personally. I had one about a month ago. So the context was, had a couple of promotions in the HR department, and folks left the department. So there were a number of moves, I think a total of like 8. And since 8 people were moving into developmental roles, I decided I'd announce this one to the whole company because it was big. I did that. The next day, a Glassdoor review rolled in that said something like this: well, unless you're a millennial, the company doesn't care about you. And it was an HR person who had written this review and identified themselves as such. And the person said, well, you have to be a millennial to get promoted around here, and obviously, nobody cares about me, and so on and so forth. And that pissed me off, quite frankly. And I think that's what you're always fighting with a tool like this. It's just like if you get your own 360, if your HR department gives you that gift, there's always going to be that one person that takes a pot shot that seems unfair. But you know what? There's a kernel of truth in all of this stuff. So I wrote a response on the site, and I said, hey, it's Steve D. Why don't you come and talk to me? I promise it'll be private. Sorry you feel that way. But then I went beyond that. I have quarterly department meetings. So I took the opportunity to go into the department meeting, and I actually read that review, the whole thing, that went on at length to the department. And then we went point by point, and I actually described to everybody all the decision making that went on behind the scenes as these moves were put together, and that basically not everybody in that announcement was a millennial. Without giving the ages out, there were some older folks in it. So that's that. And hopefully that takes care of the issue. At least we answered it. Sometimes people will never be happy, but I think they're giving you the feedback. You have to act on it. And it's free. You don't have to pay anyone for it. It's there. So for us, it's a big part of how we manage right now. We embrace it, pull it in, come on, let's see what everybody's saying. We gently ask at times if people will write reviews for us, because we do want it balanced. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. There's absolutely zero coercion involved at all. I want to go back to our company now and tell you a little bit about our culture and how we celebrate. So this is a shot from an event that we do once a year in March called Best in Show. It's an awards ceremony that rewards teams and a few individuals for achievements throughout the organization, factories, corporate, you name it. And every year, our leadership team runs this thing as sort of a skit, and we embrace a theme in order to make fun of ourselves. So you'll see in this picture, we were the cast of Inside Out. I'm cut out. I was over to the right of the guy in the tie. And there was a little play acting out, and we all were the emotions that were kind of weighing in on what was going on. A lot of silliness. Over the years, we've done everything from Star Trek to superheroes and a murder mystery and a lot of other things. And the employees really look forward to it because we get out there and make absolute knuckleheads of ourselves. And self-effacing humor is fun, and everybody can relate to it. We have a video here that shows a lot of things that happen at Purina. I'll let that play, and then we'll come back and close things out a little bit. Couple other points. So we do a lot of community service as part of the company's culture. We do one big one every year. It's called Pet Care Pride Day. A lot of the activity that happens is devoted to supporting pet shelters in the community, although we will do and can help a multitude of organizations in the community that do just about anything to serve others. I won't read this slide to you. It just summarizes a lot of the activities. One thing that we're very proud of, just earlier this year, we created a pet visiting center at the local children's hospital in St. Louis so that families whose children are at the hospital can visit with their pets. Very proud of that one. And I would tell you just 2 or 3 anecdotes back to trusting your employees, trusting your people to do the right thing. So when someone comes up with something that they'd like to do to support someone or something outside the organization, we generally support it and let it happen. We have a factory manager in Davenport, Iowa, who on his own created an organization that helps raise money for veterans that would like to get back out into the woods who have disabilities. So whether it's hiking or hunting or whatnot, he's raising money for wheelchairs that are on little tracks, almost like a tank kind of vehicle, so that they can go over obstacles and get out into the woods a lot more easily. We have a young lady that works at the corporate office in our meeting center that noticed a lot of food was being left over from various meetings, and on her own set up a relationship with a local food bank to send all the extra stuff over to them when our meetings are over. We have a gentleman as well who set up his own nonprofit that has people who are disadvantaged making dog food. It's actually a little bit of a competitor to us, but we're fine with that. They make, manufacture, and sell their own dog food to raise money. So a lot of wonderful little anecdotes like that float around our organization, and we allow it, encourage it, and let people do their thing. I want to close with something about bigger Nestlé than just Purina. So we are one operating company in the United States. You may be familiar with products of Nestlé USA that include things like Nescafé coffee and Crunch bars and things like that. Gerber baby food is another division of Nestlé in the United States, and then there's the water company. This is something that all 4 of us are working on. We call it Project Opportunity. Those of you who are recruiters in the audience know that filling jobs in what we call the skilled trades is very difficult. There are not enough people in the US going into that. That's welders, machinists, electricians, mechanics, etc. So in order to help that situation, we're really aggressively pursuing apprenticeships. In our case, it means relationships with community colleges locally all around our factories. There's 22 of them in the United States. And we are trying to train, help train and create more skilled trades in the United States. That's one aspect of it. We're also creating an element directly targeting veterans leaving the military as well. I'd encourage you to check that out, Project Opportunity. There's a hashtag there, Project Opportunity as well. As far as me, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Twitter. I'd love for you to connect with me. And again, NestlePurinaCareers.com, we are hiring. And we're a great place to work, so thank you very much. Appreciate being here.